Have you ever found yourself looking around, feeling an unsettling sensation that something is wrong, an invisible but deep crack in the relationships we have today? Women, compared to the past, seem to have changed. And before jumping to hasty conclusions, listen carefully. This is not about misogyny, but a warning, an echo of Carl Gustav Jung's thoughts. The soul, the essence of who we are, is in crisis. Today's relationships are no longer places of communion, but battlefields. On one side, there are women trapped in a form of illusory power that does not offer true strength. On the other, men disconnected from their masculine energy, emotionally castrated and trained to please. Jung spoke of an archetypal imbalance. When the poles cease to attract and begin to compete, chaos inevitably takes over. Today, no one seems willing to yield while everyone aspires to win. But win what? Loneliness, anxiety, an unbridgeable void. Jung was a master at understanding the unconscious. He was aware that the human psyche is much deeper than it appears on the surface. He argued that when a woman represses her essential feminine side, she masculinizes in the worst sense, and when a man represses his virile energy, he becomes a shadow of himself. This dynamic is evident every day. The problem is not so much that women are independent, but that many of them have confused independence with the denial of the other, turning rejection into a form of identity. They no longer seek love, but validation, and not from a man, but from an algorithm or an invisible audience that applauds their ego every time they post a retouched photo. And you know this well. You have conversed with women who do not listen, who only wait for their turn to express an opinion, who measure and evaluate you even before knowing you. Why? Because they no longer see human beings but opportunities or threats. Jung warned that when the feminine soul disintegrates, a woman loses the ability to love. Loving requires an act of giving, and to do so, it is essential to be authentic. But what happens when you can't even be yourself? When your identity has formed solely to please others, or worse, to rebel against what others expect of you? When all your strength translates into resistance and not into creation. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, that dark part of being that we tend to repress out of fear or shame. Today, the feminine shadow has emerged, but not to integrate, rather to dominate. You see wounded women who, instead of healing, choose to destroy. There are not many options because it is not about numbers, but essence. How many women do you know who truly know themselves? How many of them have embarked on the difficult path of facing their wounds, childhood traumas, and resentment towards their fathers? Jung claimed that what does not come to consciousness manifests as fate. And this is precisely what we are observing: broken destinies, relationships that never blossom, men and women crossing paths without ever touching. And now we come to the hardest point. You are also part of this problem because you have yielded. You have lowered your head, learned to silence your opinions so as not to disturb, accepted mediocre relationships for fear of being alone. You have given up your truth to be accepted. Do you know what this does to your psyche? It fractures you, tears you apart from within. Jung would say that you have betrayed your true self, the core of who you are, and that core does not forgive. The modern woman, in most cases, does not seek a deep connection. She seeks control. She wants power but does not know how to manage it. She desires a strong man but wants him to kneel. She wants independence but wishes for someone else to support her. It is a living contradiction. And you, caught between desire and rejection, between admiration and frustration, how do you feel about all this? don't say it. If you did, you might be judged. But Jung would assert, this crisis is spiritual. We have lost the language of the soul. We no longer know how to express ourselves through symbols. The myth is dead, and without myth, there is no identity. This is why bonds break before they even begin, because the other is a mirror, and if you don't know who you are, what you see scares you. Today, the feminine archetype is wounded, not destroyed, but confused. The woman has forgotten her inner power and has fallen into the trap of competing from lack, building from fear, and seducing with anger. But this is not feminine. It is a mask, a pose, a projected shadow. And the worst part is that it works. The system rewards it. The algorithm reinforces it. Friends celebrate it. But inside, they are empty. And you know it. You see it in their eyes, in their inability to remain silent, in the constant need for stimuli and attention. If they are alone for 5 minutes, the monster awakens, the true self, the wounded girl who has never been seen and validated by anyone. And it is then that they attack, not out of malice, but out of defense. Jung would say we must integrate, not reject. Integrate the soul and the animus, the masculine and the feminine within us. But how can you integrate if you don't even know what you have denied? How can you connect if you are broken inside? And yes, they are also broken, but you cannot save them. It is not your task. Your responsibility is not to be dragged into this silent war, where the victim becomes the perpetrator. There are not many choices available, not because women are lacking, but because few have undertaken the necessary inner work. Only when you are whole will you stop seeking your other half. Jung argued that meeting the soulmate is not a gift, but a consequence of inner work and individuation, of becoming what you are destined to be. So yes, it's hard, it's lonely, it's frustrating, but it's necessary. Because the alternative is to lose yourself, to dissolve into empty relationships, into broken promises, into connections that do not touch your soul. Carl Jung made it clear. Those who look outside dream. Those who look inside awaken. And will you continue to dream of women who do not exist? Or will you wake up once and for all? This is not a message against women. It is a cry for the human psyche, for the wounded soul, for the urgency to return to the essential, to the symbolic, to the sacred. When a woman finds herself, the world changes. And when a man stops looking outside for what he lacks inside, he becomes unstoppable. The wound does not begin with the modern woman or the modern man, but with the civilization we have built. A civilization that pathologizes the feminine and ridicules the masculine. The collective soul is sick, and Jung knew it. It is not a wrong generation, but an entire culture that has lost contact with the unconscious. We live in an era that idolizes the surface, where a person's value is measured by attention, not by depth. And what happens when all of this becomes normal? The woman stops asking who she is and starts asking how desirable she is. The man stops asking what his purpose is and calculates how much approval he can get. Carl Jung spoke of archetypes as eternal structures of the collective unconscious. Where are today the wise woman, the mother, the warrior? They have been replaced by parodies. Behind that tone of defiance often lies a fear of not being seen for who they are, a fear of not being enough. Many of these women have never experienced real intimacy, not because they haven't been with men, but because they do not know how to let go of control. Without vulnerability, there is no meeting, only transaction and manipulation, but there is no soul. Jung said that the soul enters the relationship only when we lower our defenses. It is not about returning to an old model. Jung proposes integration, balance, the recognition that both poles, masculine and feminine, are wounded and can only heal by recognizing each other. But in a culture that has turned the war between the sexes into entertainment, it is difficult to find common ground. And you, where do you find yourself in all this? Why do many still sleep? But you are here, you are listening, you are asking yourself questions. This is a good start, because only those who doubt can awaken. Have you ever asked yourself what it means today to be a woman or a man without labels? Jung would say, to be a man is to embody logos. To be a woman is to embody eros. Only those who reconcile their feminine side can truly love, and vice versa. Transformation begins when you stop seeking validation and start embodying your truth. Do not expect the world to give back what you do not know how to give to yourself. You are the portal. True transformation occurs when you look within yourself. Now, I challenge you. Do not close this message without asking yourself a question. What part of you are you allowing to die to fit into the noise of the world? That question will be your compass. If this message has touched something within you, remember, the soul does not lie. Be sincere and embrace the truth. The silence you feel is not empty. It is your soul awakening. There is no going back, but there are new beginnings. We will see each other in the shadow, or perhaps, for the first time, you will see yourself.